Yes.
Good evening. Call to order the City of Cedar Falls Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for Wednesday, August 22nd, 2018. We could have the roll call, please.
Adkins?
Here.
Arnson?
Here.
Girusso?
Here.
Hartley?
Here.
Holst?
Here.
Leeper?
Here.
Overly?
Here.
Saul?
Here.
Weir?
Thank you. Next, for approval of minutes, our July 25th commission meeting. Are there any comments or corrections to those minutes? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Is there a second? Motion and a second. All those in favor of approval of the minutes signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. Thank you. Our minutes are approved. At this point, we will open the floor for any general public comments for the commission. And seeing none, we'll move on to our one and only agenda item this evening, which is a public hearing. This is a rezoning of A1 agriculture to R1 residential at the north end of Lakeshore Drive. The notice of public hearing was published in the Courier on August 15th. Is there a motion from the commission to file and receive the notice of public hearing?
So moved.
Second? Second. There's a motion and a second. Those in favor of receiving and filing notice of public hearing signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. Thank you. Go ahead and declare our public hearing open. And Mr. Sturch, if you would introduce this item for us.
Thank you, Mrs. Oberly. Yeah, this item is an introduction to a rezoning request at the north end of Lakeshore Drive. As indicated on the map, it's a 20-acre parcel. The property is located in A1 zoning district, and again, they're looking at changing that to R1 residential. As part of a rezoning process, we kind of take a look at a few elements, and one being the future land use map. And this area along First Street and Union Road, mostly in the northwest corner of the city, is identified in low-density residential, and that's basically intended for single-family detached development, roughly 1 to 4 units per acre, and that's identified here. So the proposed zoning for R1 agrees with the land use for that area. Next item we take a look at is location of public utilities. Again, this is located at the north end of Lakeshore Drive. Lakeshore Drive basically is a current dead end, so it's a stub street for future development. The water main is located in Lakeshore Drive up to the site. There's sanitary sewer that runs through Lakeshore Drive and then into this property, and then it heads east to a lift station, and eventually that makes its way up to the river and then downtown. So as part of our review, we received this request a while ago, and we really kind of took a step back and worked with the engineer to look at how this is going to be planned out. Again, as part of rezoning and platting, we want to make sure all those public services and utilities are extended to the limits of the plat. So that was one consideration we wanted to take a hard look at. We got sanitary sewer to the site. Does that sewer service the proposed development? Where does future extensions of sewer go? And we kind of took a look at, can it run along the east side of the property or straight through the middle of the property? Because eventually we will show a future sewer connection or extension through the north end of this property to serve the areas to the west and north of this site. Well, at the time of the review process, it was determined that any impact to those areas along the west side, the east side, or through the north side, it's all slope and floodplain, would be more of an impact. So we basically stated that the existing lift station can serve the existing development and the proposed development as for sanitary sewer capacity. So anything future would go along the north side and be connected from the river sewer line to the west to the north side of this property. Moving along to other considerations, the floodplain does run through the east and north part of this property. There's a significant amount of tree stands in those areas and steep slopes. So this ravine kind of carries through that east side and across the north side and kind of heads up to the river. So the concept for the plat, and we'll be looking at a preliminary plat at a later date, but looking at single-family home development, large lots, a total of 6 lots for single-family development. the buildable or the lots will be located out of the floodplain. We have something in the code that says any lot can't be in the floodplain, so those are going to be set up that way so the homeowners will not have their houses or lots in the floodplain. And additional review when it comes to the subdivision ordinance and preliminary plat is we kind of take a look at the stormwater review, the detention. Everything's got to be detained on site, and then released at a certain rate. We also look at wetlands and some of those other sensitive features. Just to put it out now that it is the intent of the developer really not to impact or touch those tree stands or get down in those sloped areas. So with that in mind, we're just here today just to introduce this matter and then hear comments from the commission and the public. And we want to take those comments and continue the discussion at the next meeting. So I did send out a notice last week to the surrounding property owners in this area of the meeting tonight.
So as Mr. Sturch said, this is a first meeting that we will have this item before the commission. And we invite any public comment at this time. If you'd like to speak to this item or have questions, if you want to come up to the microphone and state your name and address.
Hello, my name is Tammy Stahl. I live at the last home on Lakeshore Drive, 1009 Lakeshore Drive, and I do have some concerns regarding developing this property. I assume that you've gone through the same measures when you've developed all the other properties in the surrounding community, in the surrounding area off of, say, Union Road and such. And what has happened is, as all this land is being developed, there is not the land there then to absorb the waters from the rainflow. And it seems that it's become the norm to have these heavy rainfalls and not an exception. So when that's the case, you need to plan for the exception and not the norm. And what is happening is our street, Lakeshore Drive, is the low point. All the building from Union Road and from the ridges and on First Street, it all comes down and funnels into our pond and to Lakeshore Drive. We've even lost a vehicle because of the excess amount of water that's come down through the roads, and you have to be careful when we drive on the road because of the rain flow. The city's progress has come to the detriment of our pond, and not just our pond, but the dam, the street, and us as property owners. And we have tried to go to the city and explain some of the serious issues that we've had. There hasn't been real good erosion control when people are building and this and that, and our pond is filling in. Everything, including this new development that you're doing, is uphill, and things flow down into our pond and in our street. Right now, there's terrible erosion. I hear that you were discussing the floodplain. Right next to us, there's severe rivets and trenches from the water flowing through because the sewer system, the gutters do not take in all the water that's coming through. And what it does take in, the water comes out directly at our dam. And the severe rains and all the building and the increased water flow that's coming through is eroding and it's causing our dam to deteriorate. The dirt and soil that's underneath the cement is all washing out and exposing all of the structure that's underneath it. And we've gone to the city and tried to talk to the city about what's happening with these issues, and we've come up with no help whatsoever. Nobody's interested in listening to our concerns. Well, this new development is also uphill, and there's no way for the curb and gutter to absorb what's coming in, so it will all flow down into our area and continue to deteriorate the dam, which, if the dam were to fail, everything is downhill from all the structures that you're talking about are downhill from the dam. And I feel as property owners in the area and the association owners, we've been working really hard to try to be responsible owners and to do our part. We expect upkeep, we expect reasonable maintenance and stuff, but it hasn't been reasonable lately with the building of the street and all of the properties around it. It shouldn't be our burden to carry the load for all the development of the city. And we don't feel like the city is taking adequate, lending an adequate ear and listening to the severity of what is happening in the association with the pond and the deterioration of the dam, and feel strongly that before you go on to approve something new, you need to take care of the issue that's already there. And the association has been really good about trying to work together as a team to deal with the dam, but we own the dam, and it's not fair to put the burden of all the city's water flow onto us as the owners of the dam. And I can also understand that maybe this was developed before the city took over with the sewer and the drainage system in there. But now that it's there, the city is in charge of all those things, and I feel that people need to step up and realize what's happening before an additional burden is put onto us. So I just really think that it would be the responsible thing to do for the city and for us, in the process of doing this. So, and it's for the safety of people, not just for the heck of it. I mean, the dam is a big deal. We're the only people in the state of Iowa that own the dam, and it may be that you need to come out and look at what's happening, because the dam, or the outlet for the sewer system, comes right out, and the force, if you can imagine the force of that water when we have really big rainfalls, it's scary, what comes out, and that is pounding on the dam every time it rains. And so I don't think it needs an additional burden. So I appreciate you listening. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Anyone else who'd like to speak to this item? Please state your name and address.
Hi, I'm Michelle Buchan, and I live at 1226 Lakeview Drive. So I believe my property is downstream from the dam that she was just talking about, and I back into the property in question. And I've lived there for 11 years, and I just wanted to share some of my observations from being there the past 11 years. The first year that we lived in our house, the water came up to the 500-year flood mark, which was closer to the house than I would have liked, and I was surprised, since it was a 500-year flood mark, that we reached that in the first year. It was very disconcerting. And I thought, well, it's not going to get any worse because we back up into Ulrich Park and the countryside. I didn't think any more building would be happening there. And so I'm a little concerned that flooding will be worse, as this lady was mentioning, and it seems like she has a lot of observations that I didn't even know about before I came here. So I'm worried about the runoff water, because that big grassy field now just soaks up all that rainwater, and there'll be a lot more runoff coming down towards the streams that affect flooding at my place. And I've seen a lot of erosion of the creek in the 11 years that I've lived there. I've seen big trees fall down, and I've also seen trees falling by the side of my house where the runoff water from the street goes by. And so I understand what she's talking about and what the effect of building houses and streets has on water runoff and what kind of damage it can do. So just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Anyone else? Questions from the commission?
David, you were talking about the storm sewer, do an investigation into that. And right now it kind of it goes down the end of Lakeshore and then turns and goes.
That's the sanitary sewer that.
Sanitary,
runs in there. So
okay.
Storm sewer runs it's in the current street right now.
Where does that outlet then? It's going to be below the dam though, right? I believe. Because I'm just thinking of the topography of that land.
She made it sound like it was above the dam.
Yeah. So everything.
But the new area is below the dam, this area that we're talking about, rezoning. I don't think any of that can run, it's going to have to run below the dam, I would think.
It's going to be set, well, this is when you're getting into the subdivision and the plating process. Again, when we look at those issues, we have to set up on-site detention.
Right.
And it collects it from the entire development, goes into the detention basins, and then it'll release. So it's going to be collected north of the dam and then outlet into the ravine on the north and east side.
Right, somewhere there, yeah.
Hello, I'm Adam Daters with Clapp Saddle Garber Associates. We are the engineers on the project. And I could provide a little bit of clarification. You know, we do anticipate stormwater. We take stormwater management into account. You know, in anticipation of this, we already have prepared some stormwater detention calculations and management. We've presented that to the city, and I've actually already gotten comments back from engineering as well. You know, we're kind of planning ahead as we go here. A portion of this site, you know, there is a large ridge just to the north of the end of the current street. So part of this existing site does drain, I say, to the south and within the existing lake's watershed. But our intent is really to capture as much of that as we can and divert that to multiple detention areas within this future development and discharge that downstream of the existing dam structure.
Yeah, so, but most of the property is below the dam to the north, right? Is that?
It is. I just want to be clear here. There's a portion, there's a large ridge kind of to the northwest.
That very
Yeah,
northwest
so some
corner.
of it does drain the natural deposit.
Catches.
Some of it does drain to the south, which probably does fall within the existing lake watershed.
Okay.
You know, but like I said, you know, the plan for that area actually is a large open tract and a lot that's probably, you know, a couple acres in size. So there'd be one single family development on that 2+ acre lot. And then also, as we're looking at the potential design of the subdivision, we are taking the street, and the street does fall to the south currently. We are looking at getting a high point right in there as soon as we can and bringing that road actually down and creating a low point to where we really just, you know, capture as much as we can within our proposed improvements. And I'm answer any questions you guys may have or anybody else may have as well.
Thank you.
Thank you for that input.
My name's James Hancock. I'm also on Lakeshore Drive, 821 Lakeshore. I wanted to kind of expand a little bit on what Tammy was sharing with you in regard to maybe some data to go along with our situation or condition, in that we have been working to try to alleviate the problem with all this sediment that's come into the lake. And we have gotten some bids on what it will take to clean out that extra sediment that's gone into the lake from around our surrounding areas. We have gotten some excavation bids and some dredging bids, and they range from $350,000 to $788,000 to clean up the mess that's been created from all the sediment that's come into the lake. We are pursuing potential grant money to help with that. We are pursuing whether a wetland area would be available. We've contacted and been working with a consulting agency that is experts on storm water management, and we've been paying his bills. We've been paying, we added aeration to our lake to help with all of the weeds and the algae that now is in the lake. The lake has gone from, it was a maximum of 12 feet deep that was dredged in 1989, and now the maximum depth is 6 feet, and the average depth, we checked 30 zones around the lake, the average depth is now 3.5 feet. And there was massive fish kills, and we worked with the DNR to try to get some of the money and so forth to try to help with some of these problems. And we're trying to partner with the city to help alleviate this problem. We're seeking the grant money that I mentioned. We have also, the aeration is costing us $720 a year now after we invested $7,500 in the aeration. So we're trying to do our part to make it better, and we want to make sure you're aware of just what the situation is, and hopefully by sharing some data with you, you kind of understand the extent to what we're dealing with.
Thank you. Invite any other public comments, discussion from commission, questions for staff?
David, has city staff done an extensive review of the storm sewer? That seems to be the primary kind of concern for everyone.
On the storm sewer, you said?
Yeah.
We were just looking at sanitaries, but we can take a look at the storm sewer and see what, how that flows through the existing, and of course, that's going to be part of the review with the proposed subdivision.
Sure.
Any other discussion?
I'm pretty familiar with that neighborhood, so I used to own a lot over there. So, but I do think that, I know there's a lot of those problems. I just would say that I think it is appropriate to rezone that R1. I mean, it is the lowest use other than A1 anyways. And I think it would be critical, though, when we get to the plating point, to just make sure that whatever's done there doesn't impact what, the problems the existing neighborhood's having, which I think can be done, though. Sounds like I've already been thinking about that a little bit. So, I mean, I think I understand the problems, but a lot of that doesn't, except for a small piece of it, I think probably doesn't really relate to the new development, other than the one resident who's downstream from the dam. But as long as the proper retainage and all that kind of stuff is addressed, I think it seems like a pretty reasonable request at this point.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Hey, David, could you put the proposed lots back on the screen? We hadn't really seen, I didn't see that in the packet before. Right. So this is very low density situation here. We got six lots.
Actually, it's set up for 6 residential lots. The lot at the southwest corner, it's in the floodplain, so that's unbuildable. And then there's a lot at the southwest corner, which is a long, narrow lot. The intent is to go along with the house on Lilliput Avenue. Lilliput Lane, excuse me. So that property owner is going to buy that back lot, so to speak.
I see. Okay, so the one that's behind the dam, there's not much of that that's buildable there?
Yeah, that first lot is a tract.
Okay, so it's reserved for...
It's reserved for the floodplain.
And protecting the dam area?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. All right, thank you.
I'm sorry, but I really have to reiterate that is all uphill, and just like all of Union Road is and First Street, and no drains can capture the water when it comes down at a rapid pace, and it's all flowing into our dam, and people need to care about it.
Thank you. So just a reminder in the process, what is before us right now for the public hearing is the rezoning portion of it. We'll continue to talk about this. If, as Mr. Holst commented on the appropriateness of the zoning, That's sort of the first decision the commission will make. What would come next would be further discussion and investigation into the engineering of the site and more of those water issues. So we appreciate the comments and things tonight. So, but please understand, this will be the first decision is the zoning piece of it, followed by more opportunity to talk about the stormwater drainage and those issues. There's no other discussion or comments. Last call. Anything else?
That's what I got.
Okay. We'll go ahead. We will continue this public hearing at our next commission meeting. That will be on the September 12th Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. That concludes our agenda item. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
A second? Motion and a second in favor of adjournment signify with aye.
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 Opposed? Thank you. We are adjourned.